All right, here we go. Today we have Joe Barone, former Mafia associate and one of the longest-serving FBI informants in Mafia history.
Hey,
Welcome
Vlad.
to Vlad TV.
Thanks, Vlad. Thanks for having me. Nice to meet you.
Well, it's your first time here. I want to start in the very beginning.
Okay.
So you're what you call a legacy wise guy.
I guess if you want to say it that way. That's pretty good, though. I never heard that one.
Well, right, because your father was a soldier and a hitman for the Genovese.
He was. Yes.
Okay. So
I was supposed to be with that family.
So growing up, did you have any idea what your dad did for a living?
No. I mean, he used to get, I have pictures of him. He used to say he was going to work at nighttime, but I didn't know he was hijacking trucks back then. When I was a little kid, he used to be what they call a beautician, a hairdresser, hairstylist now, whatever you want to call him today. And I used to go there as a little kid and, sweep the hair off the thing. I was like maybe 3 years old, 4 years old. But it was when he started, I have a picture of him at the table, kitchen table, him doing, I guess they did numbers or they loaned money, and him and my uncle, they would have, he'd go over the books or the sheets of paper back then. Then it was only till he got, it was about when he was older, maybe I was about 11, then I kind of knew what was going on because he had a deli called Pippi's Deli. Pippi's was Rudy Pipolo, who was a full-fledged man. I think he was the Lucchese family. Him, his brother Tommy, who both of them are deceased now. And then that's when I met a lot of wise guys in there, and I used to serve them coffee and stuff like that. So then you can kind of see the guys like that. And also when I was a little kid, even maybe younger than that, he would take me to the pool halls and the clubs where they gamble and stuff like that. And I'd walk in and they say, hey, Joey, who's that over there? Your bodyguard and stuff like that. And then they give you sandwiches. They show you how to shoot pool. It was just like a kind of it was different back then. Very different.
Now, your dad was actually involved in the French Connection.
Yeah, the tail end of the French Connection. Yes, that was a big heroin. That's exactly right. Rudy got pinched by that. My father also took a pinch from that. And his best friend, Tommy Murray, back in those days was the guy who ratted on my father. My grandfather didn't like him. Warned me. I don't know. Everybody always says something after, but I think I could trust my grandfather on this one. He said, I told your father never trust this guy, but you know how that goes.
Well, the French Connection was a pretty big deal.
Yes.
They basically smuggled heroin from Indochina through Turkey or France and then into the U.S. and Canada. But it was actually responsible for the vast majority of the heroin that got into the U.S. So most of the heroin in America came through an operation your dad was involved in.
They found my father had the Lincoln Mark III back then, and the trunk was full of heroin. And he wound up only getting, because I think Tommy didn't get a chance to testify against him for some odd reason. I don't know if it's because they found him dead or whatever the case may be. I don't remember exactly. But he only wound up getting 5 years. Now, back in those days, 5 years in the feds was, you only had to do 65% of your time. So my father got out after 3.5 years, but now they got you up to like 85%.
Well, right, because he wasn't a made man.
No.
Because of the drugs, initially.
Initially, yes. Listen, back then, my father was what you would call a knockaround guy. So he would do whatever it took to make a buck. He got tired of cutting women's hairs and stuff like that. And, he started loaning money himself, started, doing his own thing, taking numbers on the side, with a little help from people that were connected. But that definitely was something that they didn't want to. As a matter of fact, when he got proposed, the guy who proposed him said, look, I know what you did in the past, but now you're here with us, and that's done now, and that's it. And then my father never touched drugs again. Right,
because he became a made man in his 50s.
Yeah, actually pretty late in life. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, and that's with the Genovese.
That's right.
Okay. And your mom had ties with Al Capone?
She did. It wasn't exactly her herself. It was my her mom's sister's brother-in-law was connected directly to Al Capone. As a matter of fact, he was killed by men from that crew out there in Chicago because they were based. It was different. They were in Pennsylvania, and so he had a long reach, Al Capone, back in those days, and they actually killed him for whatever reason it was. But then 3 guys later on came to his brother, which is my grandmother's sister's husband. He was just a barber, regular guy, didn't speak much English. And the next thing you know, he got scared And they said, we're going to be here at the end of the week. We want the money. He didn't know anything about it. Well, he got scared, and as they did, and they packed up the whole family and get ready to go. And they went to the barber shop, and my uncle, I called him my uncle back then. He says, I got it over here. And he went back, got the shotgun, and shot them. And then he ran from Pennsylvania to Mamaroneck. And then from Mamaroneck, they went to New Rochelle, where I was born. And then he opened up another barbershop there. And 20 years later, somebody came and shot him. Didn't kill him, obviously, but this was the reach they used to have back in those days.